converting from rational functions, or converting rational functions from transformation form to quotient form. So remember that transformation form is the ax minus h plus k. So you're going to convert it from something like this to quotient form where it's all divided by, there's nothing adding or subtracting at the end. So it could be like, I don't know, let me try to find something. Like 2x plus 5 over x plus 4. So we're going to convert from this to this, and then there'll be a second video where we go backwards. So the first example is going to be if we have 1 over x minus 4 plus 1. So that's what we're going to convert from this form where there's a, h, and k to this form where it's all dividing. I can't just add this 1 here. And I know you guys hate adding and subtracting fractions, so I'm going to go over here and remind you of how to add and subtract. So reminder, if I have 1/2 and I add 2/5, I can't just say 1 plus 2 is 3. I can't say 2 plus 5 is 7. Remember, when we do this, we have to have a common denominator. So common denominator. So 2 and 5, you want to find the number that you can multiply both of those by, or each of those by, to get to the same thing. So we're going to get these to be over 10, because 2 times 5 gives you 10, and then 5 times 2 would give you 10 as well. So the step I'm doing right here is just to get a common denominator. Now, I can't just randomly multiply by a 5. You always have to multiply by 1. So whatever I multiply on the bottom, I have to multiply on the top. Whatever I multiply on the bottom, I have to multiply on the top. So 5 times 2 would be 10. 5 times 2 would be 10. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 2 is 4. And then 5 plus 4 is 9, so it would be 9/10 whenever I added that together. So that's getting a common denominator. You have to multiply. You will sometimes, I'm going to show you another way real quick. So if I do 1/2 plus 2/5, it's the same thing. If you multiply across the bottom, 2 times 5 is 10, and then multiply across. So 2 times 2, or I'm going to go this way first. 5 times 1 is 5, plus, and make sure you keep the plus sign, 2 times 2 is 4, which equals 9/10. So you're going to see me do it this way. I'm going to multiply across the bottom, and that's what goes there. And then I'm going to multiply crisscross and put the plus sign between them. And the reason this works, notice we did 2 times 2, which was 4, 2 times 2. It's just taking the denominator of this one and multiplying it over here, because that's what we multiplied by, 2 over 2 and 5 over 5. So that's where it came from. So when we do this example right here, if you notice, this is just a 1, so it's not a fraction. I'm going to put it over 1 just so that I can have the denominator. So I'm going to multiply across the bottom, which would be x minus 4, and then I'm going to multiply across. So 1 times 1 is 1, plus 1 times x minus 4, which is just 1x minus 4. Okay, distribute the 1. Well, we know 1 times anything is just anything, so it would be 1 plus x minus 4 over x minus 4. Then just combine like terms. So 1 and negative 4, 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So it'd be x minus 3 over x minus 4. So I multiply, and multiply. So that's where all of those numbers came from. And again, it's just multiplying by a common denominator. But I personally think that's the easiest way to do it, is to draw your multiply across the bottom and then cross multiply. So then our next example, if I have 3 over x minus 1 minus 2. That minus is kind of hard to see. Let me put a little bit of white out right there. So that's a minus 2. Okay, put it over 1. Then multiply across the bottom. 1 times x minus 1 is x minus 1. And then cross. So 3 times 1 is 3. Now notice this time it has a negative, so make sure instead of putting an addition sign between them, I'm going to put a subtraction sign. So then I do minus 2 times x minus 1. Remember, we put that parentheses to show I have to multiply this 2 times all of that information. Not all of it, but both parts. Then I'm going to distribute. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, because a negative times a negative is positive. 2 times 1 is 2. And then we have 3 at the front. So 3 minus 2x plus 2 over x minus 1. Combine like terms. 3 plus 2 is 5. So your final answer would be negative 2x plus 5 divided by x minus 1. So this is quotient form, and this was the transformation.